What's up, guys? My name is Ben, aka Sang. I am a WoW player, been playing since vanilla, raiding fairly competitively since WoW came out. Currently I am a raider with Exiled Power. We are a US Horde guild raiding on Arthas. We are the top 2-day guild on the server. I'm maining a rogue named Nuckfewbuck. And so what we've been doing as a guild is making some class and spec preview videos for the Legion Pre-Patch. So this is what we're going to be looking at going into Legion here in the next couple of weeks. The Pre-Patch will come out, and then Legion will come out, and this is kind of the base of what we're going to be looking at. So the goal of this video is to take a look at what the Outlaw Rogue is going to look like. Outlaw is the new spec that's going to be replacing combat. It's kind of got a pirate theme going for it. You can see the description. It says it's a ruthless fugitive who uses agility and guile to stand toe-to-toe with enemies. So we're going to look at Outlaw, and we're going to see what it has to offer for us. Two disclaimers before we get started with the video. First and foremost, this is a pre-patch preview. This is not a beta preview, so we do not have the artifact weapons to work with. We're just using the basic weapons starting out for just like a template rogue. So yeah, a lot of these class changes are going to have a role with artifacts. You will not see that in this video. Second disclaimer is I'm not a number crunch guy. I'm not going to be talking a lot about the numbers for the spec right now. First and foremost, because things change so quickly, and I don't want to give you information that's going to be out of date by the time you're watching the video. And then second, a lot of people play this game for different reasons. Some people play, like me, to do competitive raiding, and so you do want to min-max. You want to know what's going to provide the most damage, what's going to be useful when. I will give my personal opinion as a raider on some of those things, but some people want to play casually, and you just want to know how the class is going to play, what it feels like. You will find all of that information here. So with that being said, let's jump right in. We will look at the spellbook, then we will look at the specialization and talents, and then I'll kind of give my opinion on how the class feels and what it's going to play like. So let's go ahead and jump right in and start looking at this. You'll see some things the same, a lot of things different, but we'll just go through and talk about each one in case you're a new player or you're more experienced and you just want to know what the deal is. So first and foremost, you got Adrenaline Rush still. It's a 3-minute cooldown, so it's like our big DPS cooldown for Outlaw. It increases your energy regeneration rate by 100% and your attack speed by 20% for 15 seconds. So this is your kind of major burst potential for Outlaw Rogue. You pop Adrenaline Rush, preferably when you have multiple targets up. You can cleave, or if you just want some initial burst on the pool, you're going to be using Adrenaline Rush. Next up, you got Cheap Shot, 40 energy, melee range ability. It stuns the target for 4 seconds, awarding 2 combo points. Basically still the same. You have Ambush, 60 energy, melee range, requires stealth. You ambush the target, causing 22,133 physical damage, awarding 2 combo points. Mainly only going to be used in your opener, and if you use Vanish and you want to get some more combo points, you can use Ambush for that. Next up, you got Cloak of Shadows, one of our big defensive cooldowns. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, provides a moment of magic immunity, instantly removing all harmful spell effects. The cloak lingers, causing you to resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. Extremely useful as a raider, and in PvP as well for negating or cheesing some mechanics entirely. Rogues can solo some things just because we have Cloak of Shadows, so it's very strong. First new ability, Between the Eyes, 35 energy. It is a finisher with a 20-yard range on a 20-second cooldown. It's a finishing move that deals damage with your pistol and stuns the target. Critical strike for this ability deal 4 times normal damage. Then you can see the scaling there. The interesting thing about Between the Eyes is if it crits, because of the 4 times normal damage on crits, is actually your hardest hitting finisher ability at this point. Now that might change. It does have a stun, it does have range, so there are other benefits, but it is your hardest critting finisher right now, and that'll be important to remember. We'll talk about why later. Next up, another new ability, you have Crimson Vial. It's a 30 energy, 30-second cooldown, You drink an alchemical concoction that will heal you for 30% of your maximum health over 6 seconds. This is amazing. It's kind of the replacement for Recuperate. Rogues don't have Recuperate anymore, the combo point heal. We have Crimson Vial now, and it's very strong and very good, and very glad we have this new defensive tool. Next, you have Blade Flurry, still a thing, on a 10-second cooldown. While active, your melee attacks also strike all nearby enemies for 35% of normal damage, but your energy regeneration is reduced by 20%, lasts until cancelled. Basically the same way it was before. You just throw out Blade Flurry, and now you have passive cleave for 35% reduced damage, but you're also regenerating energy slower. So whenever you have an opportunity for cleave, you throw out Blade Flurry. Don't worry about it. Keep going crazy like normal. Next up, you have Distract. It's a 30 energy, 30 yard range, 30-second cooldown. You throw a distraction, attracting the attention of all nearby monsters for 10 seconds, usable while stealth. So mainly useful for pools, or if you're running dungeons, challenge modes, mythic dungeons, stuff like that. Use Distract to stop patrolling mobs, and you can sometimes sneak past them with invisibility potions, things like that. It can be very useful. You have Blind, still 15-yard range, 2-minute cooldown. You blind the target, causing it to wander disoriented for 1 minute. Damage will interrupt the effect. Limit of 1 target. Feint, 20 energy, instant cast. You perform an evasive maneuver, reducing damage taken from all area of effect attacks by 50%. That's the base effect of the ability. I also have a talent that reduces all damage taken by 30% for 5 seconds. And this is one of the rogue's best defensive abilities, and should be spammed pretty frequently throughout a raid encounter, especially if you know you're about to have major incoming damage. Only costs 20 energy, it's instant, no cooldown on that. Very, very useful for raid scenarios. Another new ability, Bribe, 30-yard range, 30-minute cooldown. You bribe a non-player humanoid target up to level 101 with Fool's Gold, convincing it to fight for you for 5 minutes. And this will scale up, the level will scale up as you level up, so you can take control of higher level humanoid targets. So when you use Bribe, you'll have a little pet bar pop up right there, access to all the abilities that the mob has. Could be really useful for dungeons, as far as like if you know an NPC has a really strong debuff or something like that, or a strong buff, you could always Bribe, take control of that target, and then it will fight with you for 5 minutes. Only thing is, it's on a 30-minute cooldown, so you got to be very careful about that. The other thing is that when you dismiss the target or the duration of Bribe runs out, it does become hostile wherever it's at. So if that happens at a really inconvenient time, that could be a little bit problematic for you. Just something to keep in mind. Next, you have Gouge. It's a 25 energy melee range, 10-second cooldown. You gouge the eye of an enemy target, incapacitating it for 4 seconds. Any damage will interrupt this effect, and it does award 1 combo point. Next, you still have Kick. It's our interrupt, and I believe one of the longest interrupts in the game for a 5-second lockout. That prevents any spell in that school from being cast for 5 seconds. We're going to skip Roll the Bones temporarily and come back to that later. We'll also skip Mark for Death because that's a talent. Run Through is your new kind of Eviscerate, but it's more piratey. It's a 35 energy, 5-yard range finisher. You lunge with a finishing move that causes damage per combo point and has increased range. You can see the scaling there. That's just like your basic damage finisher. Pick Lock, still a thing, allows you to open locks. Saber Slash is like the new Eviscerate. You viciously slash an enemy, causing 13,034 physical damage, 50 energy melee range. Saber Slash also has a 50% chance to strike an additional time, making your next pistol shot free. It awards 1 combo point each time it strikes. So notice it says it awards 1 combo point each time it strikes. So when it gets an additional strike with that 50%, you do get an additional combo point. And I'll go ahead and show you if I can get it to happen. You see right there, it does do like an entire additional strike. So it's an additional animation, which does make it a little bit hard to predict, because by the time the second strike happens, your GCD is already up, and you may have already initiated another ability, which can make it really easily, unfortunately, to waste combo points. Also keep in mind that that additional strike makes your next pistol shot free, which also awards a combo point. So pistol shot is also a new ability, 40 energy, 20-yard range. You draw a concealed pistol and fire a quick shot at an enemy, dealing 5,765 physical damage and reducing movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. It awards 1 combo point. So that will happen a lot of times with your Saber Slash. You will proc a free pistol shot. Also, it's just a range slow, so that might be really good for PvP or slowing mobs, things like that. Pickpocket's still a thing. Sap also still a thing for crowd control, 35 energy. Incapacitates a target not in combat for 1 minute. Only works on humanoids, beasts, demons, and dragonkin. Damage will revive the target. Limit of 1 target. Sprint, still a thing, 1 minute cooldown. Increases your movement speed by 70% for 8 seconds. Usable while stealth. Riposte is also a new defensive cooldown that we have. It's on 2-minute cooldown. Grants 100% chance to parry for 10 seconds, and each time you parry an attack, you will riposte the target for 4,918 physical damage. Cannot occur more often than once per 1 second. So that's new. It could be really, really strong, really, really useful. Stealth, obviously still a thing. We're still rogue. Tricks of the Trade is still a thing. Redirects all threats you cause to the target party or raid member, beginning with your next damaging attack within the next 30 seconds and lasting 6 seconds. So pop it off the pool, go nuts with your opener, pop it on your tank or a raid member you don't like, and they're going to take all of your threat, letting you just deal big damage. Vanish, still there, 2-minute cooldown, allows you to vanish from sight, entering stealth while in combat. For the first 3 seconds after vanishing, damage and harmful effects received will not break stealth. Also breaks movement impairing effects. So, you know what tier bonuses we're going to have. Vanish became very useful for subtlety in Hellfire Citadel. But here it is, at least you could pop Vanish and use Ambush and get some combo points really quickly. Or you could just use it to maybe avoid some mechanics. Combat Potency is our first passive. Your offhand attacks have a chance to generate 15 energy. This also combines with the Mastery for Outlaw, which is Main Gauche, which reads, your main hand attacks have an 82% chance to trigger an attack with your offhand that deals 3,646 physical damage. These offhand strikes can trigger Combat Potency. So that's going to be a major source of energy regen is your Mastery. And I mean, I have basic green gear right now. I have 82% Mastery. That's not taking into account trinket procs or anything like that. And it's already at an 82% chance. So even with any decent amount of gear, your Mastery is going to be proccing like crazy, which is going to have a really high chance of giving you more energy regeneration. And then the last passive is Ruthlessness. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point spent to grant a combo point. So you use a full 5-point combo finisher, and you're going to have 1 combo point to start with after that finisher. So you can see I use Run Through, and I start with 1 combo point from Ruthlessness. And that's really kind of it for just the base abilities that are going to be there. I know I haven't talked about Roll the Bones yet, but that's kind of a topic of debate, so we'll focus a little bit more time on that later. That's where all the issues are with Outlaw Rogue right now. So there is no more Bandit Scowl. There is no managing Deep Insight as a buff to deal additional damage, anything like that. That's kind of the basic toolkit of what we're going to be using. Which leaves us to the talents, and we'll go ahead and go back through these, and then we'll talk about Roll the Bones, and then how I feel about the class in general. And remember here, we're mainly talking playstyle, because numbers change so much. I'm not going to go through and say this is the combo you want for the most damage. I don't think that's really going to be beneficial at this point. Mainly my goal is to show you how the class is going to play and what might be useful in what scenarios. So our first tier, level 15, We'll just go left to right. Our first ability that you can talent into is Ghostly Strike. It's a 30 energy melee range ability. You strike an enemy with your cursed weapon, dealing 8,966 physical damage and causing the target to take 10% increased damage from your abilities for 15 seconds, awarding 1 combo point. So basically this would just add a new ability to your rotation that you would want to keep up at all times. It's just a flat 10% increased damage from all your abilities for 15 seconds. It doesn't cost a lot of energy itself, and there's no cooldown to it aside from the internal cooldown. So you would basically want to keep this up for the entirety of a fight, especially if you're about to pump out some major damage. Makes the spec feel kind of clunky in my opinion, just adding another ability in there like that, but you know, if it's going to be the biggest damage increase, it might be a good talent choice for that. Next up is Swordmaster. Just a passive. Saber Slash has a 15% increased chance to strike an additional time. So the base tooltip for Saber Slash is a 50% chance to strike. Additionally, this would add 15, putting you at a 65% chance to strike additionally. And my only complaint with that is like I was saying earlier, whenever you proc that additional strike, it's a whole nother animation. Like it's an additional swing, and that happens after your global cooldown is already up. So if I'm maxing myself out with an additional strike on combo points, but I've already queued up another ability, that's a wasted combo point. And if you're trying to really min-max, and you know you obviously never want to waste combo points, it's not really helpful given the length of the animation time. You don't want to waste that, which makes me think if you're going to want to talent into something that's just going to give a flat combo point increase, Quick Draw would probably be your choice. Quick Draw is another passive, so your free uses of pistol shot granted by Saber Slash now generate 1 additional combo point and deal 50% increased damage. And the reason I think this would probably be your option is you know exactly what combo points you're going to get from this benefit. And you can control that more efficiently in my opinion, because when you get that pistol shot proc, you know when you use it you're getting 2 combo points, and so you can take that into account. Okay, I have 3, if I pistol shot I need 1 more attack and I'm maxed out. Okay, if you don't do that and you choose to go with Swordmaster, you're a lot more likely to waste combo points. You don't have as much control in my opinion, because there's going to be some RNG in that. But you know, if you like the playstyle, you say, you know what, I'm not really a big fan of pistol shot, I'm not really looking at another ability, maybe Swordmaster is going to be your thing, but I kind of like the feel of Quick Draw the most. Next up, this is really just your movement tier, level 30. A lot of people are probably going to go with Hit and Run. It's just a flat 15% increased movement speed. You just put it on, don't worry about it, run faster. Next up is Acrobatic Strikes. It increases the range on all your melee attacks by 3 yards, so you can see that in play here. The range I have from the target, and I can melee attack, use all my abilities from here and not worry about it. I don't necessarily know that that's going to be super useful, especially considering, you know, Run Through has range on it, Pistol Shot has range, Between the Eyes has range. So many of these abilities already have range. Very rarely do you need additional range for melee attacks. Most bosses have really big hitboxes anyway, so at least from a PvE perspective I don't think it's super useful. It might be useful in PvP when people are trying to get away and you want to continue to be able to reach them with your attacks while they're running. That could be good, but at the same time we have so many stuns and things anyway. You know, it's just going to be kind of your opinion on that, I think. Next up is Grappling Hook. This is new, it's pretty cool. You launch a grappling hook and pull yourself to a target location. It's got a 40-yard range and a 30-second cooldown, so you can see your pathing reticle pops up and use it, and you can use it in a surprising amount of places actually. There are sometimes you'll get a weird kind of pathing error like you do with Heroic Leap and stuff like that, but for the most part you can get around a lot. Now, from watching a lot of boss videos from Legion, it does seem at this point that mobility is going to be a pretty big thing as far as a lot of mechanics and boss fights go. There's a lot of moving around, a lot of running around. We don't have burst of speed anymore as a rogue. We just have sprint as far as the movement speed increase goes. So I'm personally a pretty big fan of hit and run just because it's a flat movement speed increase and it's going to help us get around more. Next up, this is kind of your combo point management tier, level 45. There's a passive ability starting on the far right, Vigor. It increases your maximum energy by 50 and your energy regeneration rate, by 10%. So baseline, you have 100 energy as an Outlaw Rogue. With Vigor, you have 150, and it's going to regenerate 10% faster. Basically, what this is going to do is it's going to function to speed up the gameplay of the class. Because you have 50 additional max energy and your energy is coming back faster, generally you're going to be able to use your abilities a lot faster, and it's going to speed up the gameplay of the class in that sense. Remember, we're not necessarily talking numbers here, what's the most useful, but as far as gameplay style, it's going to be faster. I will say that there are some other things regarding Rogue, Adrenaline Rush, and once again we'll get to Roll the Bones at the end, that have the chance to increase your energy regeneration rate. And with Vigor Talented, a lot of times it's hard to use all of your energy. Sometimes you are getting to energy cap before you can use it because you're gaining it so fast, so that is something to keep in mind. Next up is Anticipation. It allows you to have a maximum of 8 combo points instead of the basic 5. Finishers still consume a maximum of 5 combo points. So really this just kind of gives you a cushion. This spec does have a lot of potential for sometimes wasting a combo point if you have the base 5. This gives you some cushion with 3 additional combo points. See, if I hadn't had Anticipation Talented, then I would have just wasted a combo point with that Saber Slash proc, but because I had it up, I had another combo point after my finisher. So it's just kind of a cushion there. It doesn't really speed anything up or slow anything down. Maybe a slight speed increase just because you conserve your combo points better. Last is another passive, Deep Stratagem, or Deeper Stratagem. You may have a maximum of 6 combo points, and your finishing moves consume up to 6 combo points, and your finishing moves deal 20% increased damage. So this kind of multiplies to some degree a little bit. So you can see, if you pull up Run Through, or you pull up Between the Eyes, it's going to show you have 6 combo points. It deals, additional damage, obviously over the 5. But there is also just a flat 20% damage increase on finishers above that. So you get more damage from using 6 combo points, and you get more damage from the 20% with this talent. Now what this is going to do is it's going to slow the pace of the spec down some. So you're going to be trying to build up to 6 combo points before you use finishers. And that's going to slow the speed of the gameplay down because you need more energy to get there. But like I said, there are a lot of passives to supplement your energy regeneration, so that might be a strong combination with this. Next up, you have kind of your defensive tier. Like I mentioned earlier, I have Elusiveness on right now, which causes your feint to not just do the 50% AoE damage decrease, but it also reduces all damage you take from non-area of effect attacks by 30% for 5 seconds. So anytime you have increased damage coming in from AoE or different encounter mechanics and stuff, you just pop feint, and you're taking reduced AoE damage, and you're taking reduced damage in general. And really, this is how you as a rogue are going to stay at the bottom of the damage taken meters. If you use this effectively, anytime damage is coming in, your healers are going to love you, and they're going to thank you for it. I'm a huge fan of this talent. Very, very strong for when you're doing progression and you're trying to take as little damage as possible. Other passives still there, Cheat Death, which your fatal attacks instead reduce you to 7% of your maximum health For 3 seconds afterward, you take 85% reduced damage. Cannot trigger more often than once per 2 minutes. So sometimes I'll run Cheat Death when I know we have a fight kind of on farm and I don't necessarily feel like I need to be reducing all the damage I take. So if your healers are getting bored, you can run Cheat Death. Also sometimes Cheat Death, like with Zul'Harak in Hellfire, it allows you to solo mechanics because you can go and take a damage that would normally kill you, and you take all that and don't die, and you proc your Cheat Death. The other passive is Iron Stomach. It increases the healing you receive from Crimson Vial, healing potions, and Hellstones by 30%. I'm not really a big fan of this talent just because it's reactionary, and it requires you to be able to survive to use your heal. So based on this increase, take Crimson Vial for example. Crimson Vial normally heals for 30% of your maximum health. Now it heals for 42%. The only problem with that is what if you do something, you make a mistake, or a tank needs healing, or somebody else in the raid is about to die, and you don't survive a mechanic and you die. The additional healing's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. And so I think preemptive is best, which is why I really like elusiveness. If you know you're about to take a lot of damage, you see people that are low in the raid, tanks need healing, you pop this and you're taking a lot of reduced damage from mechanics, and you have total control over it. Like, you can use this as much as you need to, because if you have to spam it, it might be a damage decrease, but dying is a bigger damage decrease. Also, Cheat Death is great because if you mess up and you're going to die, it's going to save you once every 2 minutes. So I'm not a real big fan of Iron Stomach. I think even if you're not looking to have to use Feint, I think Cheat Death is going to be a better option for you because you can survive what would kill you. Next up is kind of your crowd control talents. You have Prey on the Weak, enemies disabled with your blind. Gouge, Cheap Shot, or Sap take 10% increased damage from all sources. This can be pretty beneficial in any sort of situation in PvE. I know, for example, on Mythic Archimond, whenever an Infernal would come in, whenever you're in the down below phase, I would always take Prey on the Weak, and I would always make sure I stun one of those targets. And it allows the entire raid to deal 10% increased damage to it and kill the target faster. So I think that's really useful. Dirty Tricks is another passive. Your Gouge, Blind, Cheap Shot, and Sap no longer cost energy, so it's kind of a nice little perk if you know you're going to be doing a lot of these kind of stuns, say in a dungeon or something like that. Dirty Tricks might be really useful for you. The next new one is Parley, or Parlay, I guess, as a pirate would say. It replaces Blind. It's on a 20-second cooldown. You pacify a target not in combat who is forced to negotiate instead of fighting for 5 minutes. Only works on humanoids, demons, and dragonkin. Damage caused will break the peace limit of 1 target. So if you know for sure that there is a mob that, say, in a dungeon is really going to mess with your tanks or your healers or something like that, that might be a good talent. I don't necessarily know of a lot of scenarios where you really need a 5-minute CC as opposed to Blind, which is a 1-minute control, or Sap, which is also just generally going to get the job done for whatever you need. So I'm a big fan of Prey on the Weak. Next up is kind of a few damage talents to choose from. Just kind of your base passive. Probably your single target talent is going to be Alacrity. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to grant 1% haste for 20 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. So haste is, or was, the best secondary stat for combat in Warlords of Draenor, and I think haste will probably be best for Outlaw in Legion. And so this is just 20% additional, or 25% additional haste that you get, and you build this pretty quickly. Like, you generate enough combo points that you're going to be able to get this buff up pretty fast. And if you're not doing a lot of AoE or anything like that, you're just doing single target, I think this will probably be your best option. The other options, you have Killing Spree is now a talent. It's got a 10-yard range, 2-minute cooldown. You teleport to an enemy within 10 yards, attacking 7 times over 3 seconds for 4,918 physical damage with your main hand and 1,734 physical damage with your offhand. While Blade Flurry is active, each Killing Spree attack will teleport to and damage a different nearby enemy target. So they did change the animation for this. It looks really cool. Just kind of like a nice little bit of burst AoE if you know you're going to need it for, say, a boss encounter that has waves of trash or something like that. I don't really know that you would want to do this single target other than if you really need like specific burst for something. But you can see the new, you kind of teleport around. There's some clouds going on, so that's kind of cool. Your other option, because we're pirates, right, is a Cannonball Barrage. It's a 35-yard range, 1-minute cooldown. You command a ghost ship crew to barrage the target area with cannonballs, doing 44,154 physical damage over 1.8 seconds and slowing enemies by 50% for 1.5 seconds. So this only works when you're near a body of water. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's just another kind of 1-minute cooldown for some burst AoE damage. I'll show you the animation for it whenever Killing Spree's off cooldown. So it is on a shorter cooldown than Killing Spree, and there is, you know, the slow effect that's nice. And then second, you can just call this in and not worry about it and keep dealing damage, whereas Killing Spree forces you to go through the animation. And if you're not careful and you use this at a really poor time, Killing Spree can kill you just as often as it helps. So this is kind of nice in that there's no animation you have to go through. You just call it in and then you keep doing your damage and you're fine. And then finally, your last tier, these are some more damage kind of based abilities. Mark for Death is back. It's pretty much the same. It's on a 1-minute cooldown. You mark the target, instantly generating 5 combo points. Now the cooldown resets if the target dies within 1 minute. So it's still there, still the same thing. If you choose Deeper Stratagem and you have Mark for Death, it gives you 6 combo points. So it fills whatever your base combo points are. It doesn't give you 8 with Anticipation, but it will give you 6 with Deeper Stratagem. Next you have Death from Above, still here, 25 energy, 1 to 5 combo point finisher with a 15-yard range on a 20-second cooldown. It's a finishing move that empowers your weapons with shadow energy and performs a devastating 2-part attack. You whirl around, dealing up to 10,567 damage to all enemies within 8 yards, then leap into the air and cast Run Through on your target on the way back down with such force that it has a 50% stronger effect. So basically you have a short little burst of AoE damage and then use a more powerful version of Run Through that hits harder. It does also cost 10 less energy than Run Through does, so it's like a cheaper but more effective Run Through that you would use on that 20-second cooldown. So it's just a different finisher you would kind of rotate in. And then last is Slice and Dice is now a talent. It replaces Roll the Bones. It's a 25 energy, 1 to 5 combo point finisher. It is a finishing move that consumes combo points to increase attack speed by 100%. It lasts longer per combo point. So you put this on, it replaces Roll the Bones, and this would just be a buff that you want to keep up 100% of the time. Makes you attack faster, and then you just proceed to do damage like normal. And that's kind of it for the talents, which leads us to Roll the Bones. And this is kind of the big arguing point amongst the Rogue community right now about the Outlaw Rogue and how it's going to play, and you know, what your rotation is going to be. It all kind of falls around Roll the Bones. So let's talk about it. It's a 25 energy finisher that rolls the dice of fate, providing a random combat enhancement. It lasts longer per combo point. And yeah, you heard that right. It provides a random combat enhancement. So let me show you real quick what it looks like, and then I will tell you what those combat enhancements are. So you can see the dice roll. You probably see I got some buffs that popped up right there. So what exactly can you get from Roll the Bones? So let me pull up my little sheet over here. Roll the Bones has 6 different buffs that you can get, and as far as I know, it's an equal chance for each of these buffs. You never really know which one you're going to get. So let me tell you what we have that's available. So the first buff is Jolly Roger, which basically is like Recuperate. You heal for 3% of your maximum health every 1 second for the duration of Roll the Bones. The next buff is Grand Melee. It increases your auto attack speed by 40% for the duration of Roll the Bones. Next you have Shark Infested Waters, which increases your critical strike chance by 40% for the duration of Roll the Bones. You have Buried Treasure, which increases your base energy regeneration by 40%. You have Broadside, which causes your combo generating abilities to generate 1 additional combo point for the duration. Then you have True Bearing. For the duration of Roll the Bones, each time you use a finishing move, you reduce the remaining cooldown on Adrenaline Rush, Sprint, Between the Eyes, Vanish, Blind, Cloak of Shadows, Riposte, Grappling Hook, Cannonball Barrage, Killing Spree, Mark for Death, and Death from Above by 1 second per combo point spent. And therein lies the issue with Outlaw Rogue. In previous builds, the True Bearing, which causes all your cooldowns to be reduced per combo point spent on a finisher, that was the overpowered one, because at one point in a 36-second Roll the Bone buff with True Bearing, you could reduce your cooldowns so fast you could get 3 Adrenaline Rushes in, which is on a 3-minute cooldown, in 30 seconds. And just go absolutely insane. You could reduce your Mark for Death cooldown completely with 2 finishing moves. But it's since been nerfed to where, you know, if you're using your 5 combo point finishers, you're reducing your cooldowns by 5 seconds for every finisher. And here is where the RNG element comes in. So, wow, okay, so that happened on the first try. So you can see I just got all 6 buffs from 1 use of Roll the Bones. So I literally just rolled every single buff that you can get 1 time. But look what happens if I use it again. I went down to just 1 buff. And now it does have a slightly longer cooldown on it, but I went down to just 1 buff. Obviously getting 6 at once would be amazing, but who's to say that you're not going to be doing your opener, going crazy, pop Roll the Bones, and the only thing you get is Jolly Roger, which is the 3% heal. It's not exactly going to be a big damage increase, or who's to say you're not going to get all 6 initially, like I just did, and you're ready to go to town. See, I just got Jolly Roger as my only buff, and I have to keep trying. Now originally, True Bearing was the best one because it reduced all of your cooldowns, including all your defensive cooldowns. Now that it's been nerfed, I don't know that it is as immediately obvious. At which point do I stop using Roll the Bones? Okay, so I just got increased energy regeneration rate by 40%. That's a great buff. Do I keep trying for more, or do I just go with this and I wait until it's almost, you know, the buff is almost gone, and I use Roll the Bones again and see what happens? It's really hard to tell at this point, and there's all kinds of little interplay that's going to affect what you do. So let's say you roll the 40% crit buff. Okay, well, if you roll the 40% crit buff, in all likelihood you're going to want to finish with Between the Eyes because it deals such high critical strike damage. It's going to change the way you play, but it's completely random. Now, I will say that in my time with the class, I've gotten all 6 buffs a surprising number of times. Now, it's purely random. Like, there's no way to increase your odds here. but it does happen, and I feel like I have really bad luck with things like Soul Cap and just RNG in general. You can get all 6, but I just don't know at which point you say, okay, I don't want to use Roll the Bones anymore, I want to use my damaging finishers, and I want to start pumping out damage. I feel like to some degree you're still fishing for true bearing, but it's certainly not as strong as what it used to be. And that's kind of it. Like, it all falls down to how good are your odds going to be with Roll the Bones. There's a cannonball barrage for you to see. How good is Roll the Bones going to be? What kind of luck are you going to have? And at what point do you stop using Roll the Bones and start using your finishers? It's really hard to tell. And you always have the option. If it gets to a point where the randomness is just not desirable, or you don't want to use that playstyle, you can always talent Slice and Dice, and it replaces Roll the Bones. It's just a flat 100% speed, attack speed increase, and you don't worry about it, and you just renew that buff every 30 seconds. But as far as playstyle goes, Slice and Dice is extremely boring in my opinion, because once you have that, you have your Adrenaline Rush window, which is your 3-minute cooldown, but aside from that, there's no change in gameplay. You would get your buff, and now you're just, for the next however long, you're just doing damage, because you're regaining your energy super fast, and you're pumping it out. If you want to, you could be doing AoE damage. And that's kind of it. Like, there's nothing else to do. Like with combat in Warlords of Draenor, you're managing Bandit Scowl, you're managing your damage buff. You want to time that at the proper time in an encounter. You don't have that here. You're just managing Slice and Dice, and you can choose to risk between the eyes. Okay, you get a crit. Okay, that was more damage, so it ended up being a good decision there. But that's it. There's nothing exciting, in my opinion, about that playstyle. And while the randomness of it is unfortunate, if you use Roll the Bones and you get all 6, or you even get 5, or you even get 4, or you even get True Bearing, at least you're reducing your cooldowns. At least you're getting Adrenaline Rush up faster, you're getting Mark for Death up faster, you're getting your defensives up faster. You can have more times to use between the eyes if you get the crit buff, but it's completely random. You have no control over that, and therein kind of lies the issue with Outlaw Rogue and how it's going to play. So yeah, let me just kind of give some concluding thoughts, and then we will see what you guys have to say, what you think. So first and foremost, I think a really big strength for Rogues in Legion, and you'll hear this if you watch all my videos, is we are stronger defensively than we've ever been. Okay, with Crimson Vial, with Cloak of Shadows, with Riposte, with still having elusiveness for feint, with having Cheat Death, even Iron Stomach if you need. With having all these things, we have incredible survivability. So if you're thinking about playing a rogue, you have that. And I cannot stress how huge that is, because all the videos for healing classes in Legion are saying that healers have to be more careful and manage their mana more efficiently and make sure they're healing the right targets, including tanks more. Tanks can do less solo in a raid environment, so you're going to need to stay alive, and you're going to need to have some personal responsibility in that. Rogues can do that, and rogues can do that very well. In Warlords of Draenor, we were strong defensively. Now we're like almost Super Saiyan level strong. I mean, we have a huge self-heal that you don't have to spend combo points on. You still have Cloak of Shadows, you still have Feint, you have Riposte now, which if somehow you got aggro on an ad, you could pop Riposte and you could be fine. Even with Roll the Bones, you could roll just a ticking heal on yourself. That's fine, that's strong. We're stronger defensively we've ever been, and that's definitely a major strength. As far as damage output goes and playability, like the way the class is going to play, it's random. Roll the Bones is pure random, and you never know whether you're going to have a great hand or you never know whether you're going to be dealt a completely raw hand. I still feel like True Bearing is the most important buff just because it reduces all of your cooldowns. And not just offensive but defensive, everything is reduced by True Bearing. Not nearly as much as it used to, so it's not quite as rewarding, but I still feel like it's going to be the best thing for you to look for with True Bearing. And then you pop all your cooldowns and you go crazy. And it's certainly more rewarding gameplay than Slice and Dice. I think it's got some cool synergies with Mark for Death. I think it allows you to spam it more, especially. It gives us some single target viability, so obviously Mark for Death works best if you throw it on a target that's about to die. But if there's not a lot of that, and somehow Outlaw ends up being the strongest single target spec, it allows you to have Mark for Death up more frequently. Although I still think Death from Above would probably be better than that for pure single target damage. That's kind of it. The spec can play very, very fast when you get energy regen from Roll the Bones, and if you use Adrenaline Rush or you have Alacrity, you have different things going on. It can play very, very fast, and it can be kind of rewarding and exciting in that sense. But you can also slow it down a little bit if you want to run deeper stratagem or anticipation. Those may end up being really, really strong choices for the Outlaw Rogue. That's kind of what it is. It's in a unique place. It's certainly got some strengths to it, and in some ways could be more exciting, I think, than combat is. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your comments or questions. You can leave those below, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Or if you want to, you can subscribe down below. Where's my camera? Down below. You can subscribe, and that'd really help us out a lot as a guild. Like I said, we are Exiled Power. We are the top 2-day rating guild on Arthas. On US, we are 13 out of 13 Mythic Hellfire Citadel, so we appreciate it. Hope you found this video helpful. And yeah, I hope you learned something if you're looking at playing Rogue, or you've already chosen Rogue as your class for Legion. So until next time, this is Sang, and I'll see you guys later.